Today is July 19, 2021. If you listened to yesterday's post, you learned that we have learned to find better and more secure ways to save our posts. We now save them offline on several different sites to prevent future issues. So all right, they don't want us to talk about the war on cops. So today let's talk about Joe Biden and China. A highly problematic relationship in my opinion. I'm sure they won't mind that at all. According to Brad Parscale, Beijing Biden is soft on China. Examples of that are 1. He backed China in the WTO. 2. He opposed Trump trade actions. 3. Says China is not an economic competitor. 4. Called Trump-China travel restrictions xenophobia. 5. Resisted naming China as the virus source. 6. Would fund WHO. 7. Sun Hunter's $1.5 billion deal while Dad was VP. He said, "My thoughts on Joe Biden and China. It should be obvious at this point, for reasons related to Joe Biden and China, among other issues, that we cannot let Joe Biden be president." But we did, America. Or did we? You know, I believe to my core that the election was rigged. I believe that China played a major role in that. This is the perfect segue. So I'm going to go back to Trump accomplishments, Trump's life-saving response to the China virus. He restricted travel to the United States from infected regions of the world. Trump accomplishment 198. He suspended all travel from China, saving thousands of lives. He required all American citizens returning home from designated outbreak countries to return through designated airports with enhanced screening measures and undergo a self-quarantine. 199. He announced further travel restrictions on Iran, the Schengen area of Europe, the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Brazil. 200. He issued travel advisory warnings recommending that American citizens avoid all international travel. 201. He reached bilateral agreements with Mexico and Canada to suspend non-essential travel and expeditiously return illegal aliens. 202. He repatriated over 100,000 American citizens stranded abroad on more than 1,140 flights from 136 countries and territories. 203. He safely transported, evacuated, treated, and returned home trapped passengers on cruise ships. 204. He took action to authorize visa sanctions on foreign governments who impede our efforts to protect American citizens by refusing or unreasonably delaying the return of their own citizens, subjects, or residents from the United States. He acted early to combat the China virus in the United States. Number 205. He established the White House Coronavirus Task Force with leading experts on infectious diseases to manage the administration's efforts to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and to keep workplaces safe. 206. He pledged in the State of the Union address to take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from the virus, while the Democrats' response made not a single mention of COVID-19 or even the threat of China. 207. He declared COVID-19 a national emergency under the Stafford Act. 208. He established the 24/7 FEMA National Response Coordination Center. 209. He released guidance recommending containment measures critical to slowing the spread of the virus. decompressing peak burden on hospitals and infrastructure and diminishing health impacts. 210, he implemented strong community mitigation strategies to sharply reduce the number of lives lost in the United States, down from experts' projection of up to 2.2 million deaths in the United States without mitigation. 211, he halted American funding to the World Health Organization to counter its egregious bias towards China that jeopardized the safety of Americans. 212, he announced plans for withdrawal from the World Health Organization and redirected contribution funds to help meet global public health needs. 213, called on the United Nations to hold China accountable for their handling of the virus, including refusing to be transparent and failing to contain the virus before it spread. He repurposed domestic manufacturing facilities to ensure frontline workers had critical supplies. 214, distributed billions of pieces of personal protective equipment, including gloves, masks, gowns, and face shields. 215, invoked the Defense Production Act over 100 times to accelerate the development and manufacturing of essential material in the USA. 216, made historic investments of more than $3 billion into the industrial base. 217, contracted with companies such as Ford, General Motors, Philips, and General Electric to produce ventilators. 218, contracted with Honeywell, 3M, O&M, Halyard, Moldex, and Lidl to increase our nation's production of N95 masks. 219, the Army Corps of Engineers built 11,000 beds, distributed 10,000 ventilators, and surged personnel to hospitals. 220, converted the Javits Center in New York into a 3,000-bed hospital and opened medical facilities in Seattle and New Orleans. 221, dispatched the USNS Comfort to New York City and the USNS Mercy to Los Angeles. 222, deployed thousands of FEMA employees, National Guard members, and military forces to help in the response. 223, provided support to states facing new emergencies of the virus, including surging testing sites, deploying medical personnel, and advising on mitigation strategies. 224, announced federal support to governors for use of the National Guard with 100% cost share. 225, established the Supply Chain Task Force as a control tower to strategically allocate high-demand medical supplies and PPE to areas of the greatest need. 226, requested critical data elements from states about the status of hospital capacity, ventilators, and PPE. 227, executed nearly 250 flights through Project Airbridge to transport hundreds of millions of surgical masks, N95 respirators, gloves, and gowns from around the world to hospitals and facilities throughout the United States. 228, signed an executive order invoking the Defense Production Act to ensure that Americans have a reliable supply of products like beef, pork, and poultry. 229, stabilized the food supply chain, restoring the nation's protein processing capacity through a collaborative approach with federal, state, and local officials and industry partners. 230, the continued movement of food and other critical items of daily life distributed to stores and to American homes went unaffected. They replenished the depleted strategic national stockpile. 231, increased the number of ventilators nearly tenfold to more than 153,000. 232. Despite the grim projections from the media and governors, no American who has needed a ventilator has been denied a ventilator. 233. Increase the number of N95 masks 14-fold to more than 176 million. 234. Issued an executive order ensuring critical medical supplies are produced in the United States. Created the largest, most advanced, and most innovative testing system in the world. 235. Built the world's leading testing system from scratch, conducting over 200 million tests, more than all of the European Union combined. 236. Engaged more than 400 test developers to increase testing capacity from less than 100 tests per day to more than 2 million tests per day. 237. Slashed red tape and approved emergency use authorizations for more than 300 different tests, including 235 molecular tests, 63 antibody tests, and 11 antigen tests. 238. Delivered state-of-the-art testing devices and millions of tests to every certified nursing home in the country. 239. Announced more flexibility to Medicare Advantage and Part D plans to waive cost sharing for tests. 240. Over 2,000 retail pharmacy stores, including CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens, are providing tests using new regulatory and reimbursement options. 241. Deployed tens of millions of tests to nursing homes, assisted living facilities, historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, tribes, disaster relief operations, home health hospice organizations, and the Veteran Health Administration. 243. Began shipping 150 million Binax Now rapid tests to states, long-term care facilities, the IHS, HBCUs, and other key partners. I'm going to stop there. There's many, many more, and we will continue, but I'm hoping that you understand as I do. We had one president that put Americans first. We have a new one that puts China first. Let's fix that.